Okay, so thank you guys for taking the time to come to this very informal Q&A about the Solo Consulting Bootcamp. Can you see my screen? I should be sharing the slides. Yes. Okay, so
Yep.
some of you have never met before, or you've never met me, or we haven't been in a webinar together yet. So I'm Liz Steble. I am one of the 3 independent consultants who created PICA. We've been live a little over 5 years. And the reason that we started PICA, it goes back to my whole solopreneurship consulting journey. I'll make this as fast as possible because you're not here to learn about me. But I started my consulting career in the last century. I worked for one of the large firms for about 5 years. Then once my daughter was born, I said, oh, it's not going to work because, they wanted me to travel all the time. So I left the big firm. I literally fell into consulting in 2004 when my daughter was 3. That also was the same year I got divorced. It was a very traumatic year. But that first year, I worked fewer hours, made more money, didn't have to deal with the big firm BS, lowered my effective tax rate, and had more quality time with my kid. And I said, well, this is great. I'm never going back to a real job. So I managed to always find my own work. There's another story I'm skipping over there about why I did not subcontract through agencies. But I managed to always find my own work. And then about, I don't know, a few years later, I was parachuted behind enemy lines on a project at Clorox, which gave me the idea for my real business, how I earn my living, which is called the Proco Consulting Agency. And as a result of growing Proco into a multi-million-dollar business, I got the reputation of the person to call if you have questions about being self-employed. After a while, I was getting asked out for coffee twice a week, literally. And I'm a little slow to catch on. One week, I had coffee with a guy on Tuesday, coffee with a guy on Thursday, and they literally asked me the same exact questions. And finally, I got the idea like, oh, people want to do this and they have questions and they need help. And there's got to be a better way to help more people than just drinking a lot of coffee. So I reached out to 2 fellow independent consultants. I said, hey, I got this idea for this educational organization and community where people can get the help they need to step into independent consulting. Now we're kind of branching out because we also have financial planners and executive coaches and whatever. But at the time, it was independent consulting. And they said, yeah, that's a great idea. We should do it. So that's why we created PICA. We've been working on it for 7 years, and I still have not made a single penny. It's a labor of love for me. The only person who gets paid is Marissa, who is the wizard behind the curtain, who does everything, right? Like prepares the slides, handles registration, does the email follow-ups, which reminds me, you will be getting these, not that you'll need them, but you'll get these slides. After every PICA workshop, you get the slides, you get the link to the recording, any reference documents that we talk about in the workshops, etc. Marissa does all of that. So that's enough about me and enough about PICA. Normally, in normal PICA workshops, which some of you haven't been to a PICA event yet, we do introductions because there's usually anywhere from 5 to 20 people in our workshops. And one of the reasons we do introductions is so that you can get to know other people and expand your networks, because most solopreneurs find their work through referrals. So the wider you can expand your network, the more likely you're going to find other business. And so that's one of the great things about PICA is its community. We really are helping each other out. All right, but what you guys came here for was to learn more about the boot camp. The boot camp is a commitment. It's called a boot camp for a reason, because I hold people accountable and I really kick your butt so that you are ready to launch your business. So these are some of the outcomes here on this slide, obviously, but really the overarching goal is that at the end of this boot camp, you are ready, willing, and able to launch your business and find your first client. Sometimes it happens that people get their first client partway through the boot camp. Sometimes it happens that people are still fully employed and they're not quite ready to launch their business, but they've got their ducks in a row for when they're ready to take the leap. So there's people work through the boot camp sort of at different paces. I say there's homework after every week and I kick your butt. There's still a lot of variability because people come in at different stages. I had a person that did this boot camp, I guess it was last January. So that cohort, that was January to March. And she was always doing her homework. She was on time. She had her her positioning figured out. She had everything figured out. And she was so paralyzed with FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, that she just couldn't give her notice at her company. So when I was in Phoenix, I don't know, this is my brother or something, I actually met her for lunch and I said, Julie, what's the whole, what, come on. You've got people asking to hire you and you still won't give your notice. She's like, I know. I'm just stuck. Well, finally, this fall, she gave her notice and she's lost her business. So people come in at all different stages. So that's one of the questions that people often have. Are there any questions? I have a whole nother page on FAQs, but before I dive into that, are there any questions about the outcomes? I don't see anybody coming off mute, so maybe not the moment.
Yeah, not for me. Just here to get some fact finding. I went to your session the other day, the free one, and kind of weighing the pros of doing this now or doing this in 6 months. I'm just transitioning. I'll probably start working in January for an agency. I want to see if now's the right time. I'm kind of thinking between you and me that in 6 months, I might be ready to do this, work for the agency for 6 months and gather more information before I go independent individual. But that's why I'm here to listen the pros and cons. It's something I think I want to do. Definitely. Don't think January is right for me, but I wanted to come do fact finding today for sure.
Right. Great. Thanks, James. And that's one of the FAQs, which is 2 slides from now. One of the FAQs is, how often do you run the boot camp? I run them 3 times a year, usually. I run one, kicks off in January, which is, people come into that one super energized because it's the beginning of the year, you know. Then I run one usually late spring because we want to wrap up before summer breaks and stuff get in the way. And then I do one in the fall. I say usually because I have a book coming out on March 4th, and I'm not sure what life is going to look like after March 4th. And I will also say that even though the bootcamp is expensive now, depending what the demand is for the book, we might end up increasing the price of the bootcamp later next year. Okay, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's talk about the bootcamp basics. So as I mentioned, the overarching goal is to be able to launch your business. And this is how we do it. So every other Friday, starting on January 5, the cohort, which is a maximum of 8 people, plus me, get together for 90 minutes. And I usually share the first cohort. I go through some specific information and we get to know each other. And then the next week you do one of the 6 core workshops. And then we come back together for the cohort and we discuss what you learned in the workshop and or work on your homework from that workshop. And then there's another workshop, then a cohort, then a workshop, then a cohort. And at the end, there's like 2 workshops in 1 week. There's really no homework after legal aspects of solo consulting, which is led by our lawyer. So that's sort of the rhythm. Even though it says each session focuses on a particular topic, it's really blurry. It's not that distinct. The first session of the cohort, it's about the really boring stuff, the foundational stuff you need to do to literally set up your business. Like how, do you need an LLC or S Corp or sole proprietorship? Do you need a federal tax ID number? What about a business license? What type of insurance? All of that really administrative stuff. We go through it really fast in the first cohort, and at the beginning of every cohort, we see where you are. It will take, in some cases, 8 weeks to get through all of those tasks. So we start every cohort with this big matrix that says, here's the foundational tasks. How are you doing? Are we making progress? So that at the end of the cohort, hopefully we have nothing left to do in red. And then the other thing that we also tend to spend time on in every single cohort is branding and positioning. That is the hardest part about stepping out on your own, is defining your service offerings and your niche, because you need to be known for something. People don't want to hire a jack of all trades. They want to hire an expert. And so some people have it nailed right away. Most people, it takes a few weeks. You kind of got to let it simmer. There's a phrase, you can't rush a pregnancy. It's a little bit like that. It takes a little bit of time to figure that part out. So anyway, assignments may include, yeah, there's almost always a PICA workshop, various tasks to set up your business and administration. Sometimes I'll have you create a first draft of something so that we can, we have a working copy that we can work on in the cohort. But then in between all of that, the cohort sessions and the workshops, every week I hold office hours for PICA members in general. So let's say you come to the cohort session on January 5, and then you go to the Know Your Niche Branding and Build Business Workshop and you start working on your positioning. But you don't want to wait until January 19 to get more input, so then you can pop in office hours. And then, of course, there's always email too. So there's lots of support. It's not just the cohort sessions and workshops. There's the office hours every week as well. Any questions about sort of the bootcamp basics before I go to the FAQ page? Okay. All right, so let's get into the nitty gritty here. How much time does it take? Well, like anything, you get out of it what you put into it. But here's some rough numbers. The cohort sessions alone are 7.5 hours, right? Because it's 90 minutes 5 times. The workshops will take about 9 hours. Some of them are an hour long, some of them are 75 minutes, some of them are 90 minutes. There's one that's on demand, so that's kind of at your own pace, but roughly 9 hours for workshops. So you're looking at least 16.5 hours, but that doesn't take into account the homework. So if you spend even an hour a week doing the homework, which you'll probably spend more, you're looking at probably 25 hours of the day. So, but that's over 10 weeks or 8 weeks. 8 weeks. 25 hours over 8 weeks. So on a weekly average, you're probably going to be looking at 2 to 3 hours a week. What is the hardest part about the bootcamp or stepping out on your own, even without the bootcamp? And I already mentioned that it's nailing your niche, getting your positioning right, your service offerings, something we call your keywords or your tagline. And let me explain what I mean by that. For all the years that I was an independent consultant from 2004 until about, I don't know, I forget, but it's like 14, 15 years. I was an independent consultant. My keywords were big, hairy tech projects, big, hairy change, which is kind of weird because I'm neither big nor hairy. My specialty was change management strategy and implementation on big, hairy tech projects, like implementing SAP on a global basis. Because that's what I had done when I was with the big firms, and that's what I did when as a solopreneur. So how these keywords served me is I kept getting referred to the same client over and over and over again. I did like 10 or 12 projects for a high-tech company down in Silicon Valley. And I asked, and it was my very first client there that kept referring to all these other projects. And I said, Sally, this is wonderful. I love you for this. But just out of curiosity, when does this come up? And she says, oh, well, I'm thinking an IT staff meeting or a steering committee meeting, or somebody mentions the words big, hairy change. This is going to rock the salespeople's world. This is going to be a big, hairy change for our accounting team. I think of you. And that's when I tell them, hey, talk to Liz Stevley. And they say, who's Liz and why should we talk to her? And she says, trust me, if you're doing anything that involves a big, hairy change, you need to talk to Liz. So that's what I mean when I talk about branding, positioning, keywords, tagline. You need to know what your keywords are to create stickiness in people's minds so that when those words pop up, they think of, oh, you need to talk to Chia Young or talk to Yuan or whatever. So that's why it's not this part. All right, next question. What if I still have a full-time job? There are lots of people that do the boot camp that know they want to make the leap to independent consulting, but kind of want to get all the ducks in a row before they cut the cord, like that other person mentioned, Julie, I mentioned. And there have been plenty of others. Probably the hardest part there, besides figuring out your niche, is reserving that time on your calendar, right, for the cohort sessions or the live workshops. The workshops are recorded, but it's not the same thing as doing it live and being able to ask questions and get feedback in real time. So that's if you're still in your full-time job, that's you need to like, and you sign up for the boot camp, you'll get the syllabus with all the dates and times and everything. You go in and block your calendar right away. What if you miss a session? I already said if it's a workshop, we record those. If it's a cohort, that's a little harder because the value of being of the cohort session is in the group discussion and the live feedback and interaction with your peers and with me. We can record it, but it's the value is like maybe 50% what it would be if you were there live. So it does happen, life happens. People's mom fall, somebody's mom took a fall and she had to, get her set up and then assisted living or whatever the heck. Life happens. So it's not the end of the world, but it's not ideal. I do strongly encourage, in fact, it's almost a requirement that you make the first kickoff session on January 5, because that's when we go over the ground, the foundations of launching your business, do the introductions to meet each other, et cetera, et cetera. What if I can't keep up with the assignments? Happens all the time. Life happens. I actually had one woman who came into the boot camp, was so excited, and then her mom got sick, like, and she was the closest kid next to where mom was, and she tried to do both for like a couple of weeks, and finally she texted me or whatever. And she's like, I can't, I just can't, I have to focus on mom. And I said, absolutely. So just stop. I'll explain to your cohort, what's going on. And then when you're ready, take the boot camp again at no extra charge. And so that's what she did. So, because we life happens. What if something happens and I have to drop out? I just covered that. What will it be worth the money? Yes, I guarantee it. What if it's not? I'll prorate and refund your money. So, whatever that looks like. So let's say there's 5 cohort sessions. It's an extra roughly $1,500 to do the boot camp versus PICA membership. So $1,500, that would be $300 a session, whatever the math. I'm terrible at math, but anyway, I'll prorate it. I don't care. Nobody has ever asked to do that. And this cohort, I think, is called the Oscar cohort. We've used the military alphabet, so that's how many times I've run the boot camp. I don't know what letter the alphabet O is, but I've run it a lot, and it's one of my favorite things to do because it's just so rewarding for me to see you guys go for it and finally do it, and my payment comes like partway through the boot camp or even 6 months later when somebody says, I just landed my first client, or I just increased my rates by 50% or whatever. That's how I get paid. I did jot down a couple other FAQs from when I did the last Q&A session. So let me look at my notes. Somebody asked how many boot camps are offered a year. I would mention that usually 3. There's another FAQ. When is someone too far along with their business for the boot camp not to make sense? So maybe this person was subcontracting and had some things in place, like maybe they'd already set up their LLC structure, and they were kind of wondering, am I too far along in the journey? And the answer is probably not too far along. Because we spend so much time on honing the positioning in your service offerings and your pricing. And then also there's another whole section on business development. So, but here's the thing. If you sign up for the boot camp, you're partway through it, and you're like, yeah, I am kind of too far along for this, then I'll just rebate whatever sessions you don't take. So it's kind of no risk. You would think I would have a slide on the pricing. Maybe the next one is about the pricing. So some people are still on the fence. James mentioned that he was in a free webinar. I don't know if it was this week, last week, I lose track of time. There's a webinar lead called Is Solopreneurship the Right Path for Me? This article that's hyperlinked on this slide, which you will get, is the same content. It's just faster to read it in the article. If you're on the fence, you can take the $69 workshop, getting started. It's only 2 days before the boot camp starts, though. What I'll tell you about that 1 hour workshop, getting started as an independent consultant. I think now it's actually called Getting Started as a Solopreneur. In that hour, I'll tell you what the 5 key things you need to do to launch your business, but I don't necessarily tell you how, because it's only an hour long, right? I already mentioned earlier, there's like 9 hours of workshop content. So there's no way I can pack that into 60 minutes. But at least it would give you a feel for what PICA workshops are like. If you join PICA after that, we'll give you a code and we'll credit you for the $69. But here's the trade-off with taking that path is A, the bootcamp could sell out, and B, the price of membership is going to go up on January 1st. So I haven't yet sent this out to our mailing list because we just made the decision yesterday. So PICA membership is currently $395 for the first 12 months. So basically $400 for the first 12 months. And then renewals are $149. The reason there's 2 different prices is because the bulk of what you're going to learn comes in the first 12 months. Like you're going to take the workshops and you're going to look at our online library, and then people renew because they like coming to our members only roundtables and office hours and the community and stuff like that. But the price is going to go up from $395 to $495. So it's going to be $500 for the first 12 months starting January 1. Okay, so how does that impact the boot camp? The boot camp is actually, when you go to register for the boot camp, you'll actually see 2 different prices. One says if you're a PICA member, it's going to be roughly $1,500. If you're not a PICA member, it's $1,995 because it includes the PICA membership. So with this code, bootcamp for me, if I was in your shoes and I really want to do the bootcamp, I would sign up for the bootcamp and membership at the same time, because then you get 15% off the whole package, not just the membership or not just the bootcamp price. That makes sense. Okay. Those are the most frequently asked questions. I'm going to open it up to you guys. You can type something into the chat or just come off mute and ask me anything you want. If you don't have any questions about this, specifically about the bootcamp, but you do about making the leap to solopreneurship, we can do that after I stop the recordings. Joanna, I saw you come off mute.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you, and you answered all my questions, and I do need to go. So thank you so much.
Okay, thanks for coming.
Okay.
James, did you have a question too, or comment?
No, same thing. You can answer my questions. You answered them a little bit in the free seminar the other day, and then today as well. So I will stay in touch and keep surfing your website and decide whether the boot camp is ready for me next summer. But thanks so much. I'll look for your book too when it comes out.
Yes, I'm very excited about that. This is a mock-up. This is a mock-up of the book. So yeah, it's taking over my life, to be honest. So yes, James, look forward to seeing you another session.
Thanks.
And Gia, how about nice to see you?
Yeah, good to see you again. And I'm excited about your book. I can't wait to read it. You will let us know when it's available, right?
Oh yeah, no worries. You'll be so tired, but you're like, Liz, stop emailing me about this book.
I am going to tell everybody about it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I feel the same way about being a PICA member. I have renewed twice. So it's been 2 years, I think. It's extremely educational. I really thank you. This is one of the best decisions I've made for myself. Joining your group and then learning from you and being part of this network is wonderful.
Thank you, Chia. I swear to those of you watching the recording and those of you that are still on the call, I did not ask her to come on here and do that.
Yeah, it's just I'm starting and still not sure about, do I just really 100% dive into solo consulting like many people do, or do I still want to continue the standard full-time employment? I'm at that junction, but I have some very early success in my trial solo consulting largely thanks to the guidance and materials provided by PICA. So
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
In my day. All right, I'm going to stop the recording. So then if you guys have any other questions about making the leap or solopreneurship or anything like that, we'll be have a couple minutes to chat. Let's stop.